Steve, we are back with another edition of the Gentleman's Dojo.
We're here.
And actually, this is kind of interesting for us because we are not in our typical Burbank studio.
No.
But this is the first time...
Not in the dojo.
No. This is the first time we are taking the show out on the road.
Yeah.
But it's for a very special reason.
Very special.
A very special reason. Joining us today, we have a comic, an actor, a game show host. He's done it all. Steve, you know this. From St. Elsewhere, Bobby's World, Deal or No Deal, America's Got Talent, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, everything.
Canadian Walk of Fame as well.
We want to welcome our guest to the show. We're so excited to have this guy. The one and only Howie Mandel is here.
Howie Mandel's here.
Wow, thank you for having me. And thank you for leaving Burbank. And this is you've gone west.
We've gone west.
To Van Nuys.
Yes. This is not, I would not have expected, this is your production office. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's very cool.
I don't know that it's beautiful, but it is a production office, and it's in Van Nuys.
It's very, very cool.
Yes, this is Howie Central.
Yeah. We first of all, your friend Rich helped us out in setting this whole thing up, and so it's funny. Steve Mazan is sitting in for Steve Byrne this week here at the dojo. Steve is off. Steve is off promoting our buddy Steve Byrne, who co-hosts the show with me, has a new Showtime special out, called "Tell the Damn Joke," which is coming out this Friday.
Right.
So he's out promoting that. So
Steve he's out, and you're here promoting that.
I'm here promoting his stuff because I have to.
That's great.
But here's what's so funny. So I couldn't have thought of anybody better to do this podcast with me than my buddy Steve, because Steve and I know you in a very unique way, in a sense that Steve and I both did audience warm-up on
AGT.
I did AGT. And then
I
Steve
did at the very beginning, Deal or No Deal. The very beginning.
Wow.
The very first shows. Yeah.
You did the first shows?
Like, you'll remember. It was like 15-hour days. They'd open the case and be like, well, now let's try it this way. Let's try it this
well,
way.
they were always, we never changed. I got to be clear. They never reopened a case.
No.
Yes. But it was 15 hours because they wanted, that show was about people's reactions.
Right.
So what it was is if they had to make a decision, they'd have me, and I didn't mind, walking around ad nauseum going, are you sure this is what you want to do? Absolutely, because you could say, no, really, you want it, and then
drama.
you've got the drama. Mm-hmm. But for the warm-up, the drama was, how do I keep it, and also on America's Got Talent, which in the audition process, people don't know, is also a 15, 16-hour day. So to warm up, is to beyond warming up. It's to overheat, to overcook, and to just bake an audience. And really to bake a warm-up person is really what we did.
It's interesting because I was living in San Francisco doing stand-up, and I came down to L.A. to go see a taping of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And before I went in there, I found out that your daytime show was filming right next to Jay Leno. This would have been back in, 98? 99, right. So I remember we came in, and I saw your daytime show, and that was when I saw my very first warm-up guy. And I think your warm-up might have been like Phil Steller, Robert Koch, somebody like that.
I don't really remember who
But
it
I
was.
remember seeing this guy come out, do a few jokes, bring you out, and the show started. I was like, that looks like one of the greatest gigs I've ever seen.
You want to do that.
And as a result of seeing your daytime show back years ago, it inspired me when I finally moved down to L.A. to do warm-up.
Right.
So it was so crazy because I would like to think that you were somewhat responsible, you and your show, for getting me into
inspiration.
warm-up. Yes, which was awesome.
Wow.
But Steve and I will both tell you this, which is kind of funny. You gave us both amazing kudos when we worked.
Yeah, you're so fantastic.
When
nice.
I remember you pulling me over at AGT when we were in Houston. You were having dinner with some of the executives, and in front of them, you said, "Hey, listen, I know how hard that job is. I know this, that, and the other thing." And you said that to Steve as well.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it for the amount of hours that, like you said, when you walked into my talk show, the warm-up guy would go there like 10, 15 minutes before we were going to go up, just so that it wasn't...
get warm
and
up.
That's what I always thought was traditional warm-up. And then the two shows that you mentioned that I did, Deal or No Deal, and America's Got Talent, the warm-up guy, it's like being in purgatory, because it's like we want them laughing, we want them cheering, just for another hour. Just for one more hour? Is there any way we can keep them laughing and cheering after lunch? Is there any way we can get them till dinner, to cocktail?
Right.
So that's, warm up, the connotation is warm them up and then something will happen.
Right.
This is just keep them cooking. You are the crock pot of comedy in those two shows. Let it simmer all day long. And then when you get back, you got a show.
Well, Steve and I have said that one of the hardest gigs to do is a game show because they want 100 different reactions. It's a long day, oohs and ahs. Right. That can be a very long day. So that's the downfall. But you were always so nice. But Steve and I have always said, because I never came back to AGT after your nice nod. Steve never came back to Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, once I give you the compliment, that's because of the
curse. It's the Grim Reaper. It's almost like
so they always say, "We're about to fire the warm-up guy. Will you go over and say something nice to them?"
Something nice, so they remember when they leave.
I remember because Steve said to me, he said Howie called me over and he said what a great job I was doing, and then you never made it back a few days later.
I did one more day, and then that was. I thought I was like, "Who's it?" The star of the show has said I'm going to do a good day. I remember it.
I've always assumed that you guys quit.
No.
I swear.
No.
Because it was really good.
Well, of course. Even when I said, I just want to cover up, because, again, I don't want to insinuate anything about, like, when I said the cases, I just meant, I was there, like, at the very beginning of Deal or No Deal.
Yeah.
When it was, like, they're figuring out, where do we want the cameras? Where do we want, like,
right.
do we want her walking down this quickly? Let's try it again slowly. So it was that stuff you'd be doing over and over. So
yes.
one show was taking, like, sometimes I think almost like 12 hours to get through the whole show.
Absolutely.
And so, but I remember we finally took a break after one of these long times, and I did like we have all these paid audience members, that kind of thing, and they're getting tired. But half of them, they all live here in LA. They all have some talent. So I always on these breaks get them up and they do like impressions, dancing, do something, you know what I mean?
Right.
So all of a sudden, I have these. It broke out like it was like the Jackson 5. There's 4 of them on stage and they're dancing, they're back spinning, doing all this stuff. And I look over and Howie, you had come back in, and I think you were there. I want to say John Melendez. Is it John? Big comic
Mendoza.
From Mendoza. John Mendoza. John Mendoza was there,
right.
and I had remembered him. I was like, oh my god, this is from one of my idols growing up seeing him, and. You guys walked in, and then you purposely came over, and you were like, "This is fantastic. You are doing a great job. This is one of the best things I've seen." And then so my confidence was really high. And then, like I said, 2 days later, I was.
You know what? I don't think anybody.
That's not your fault.
I don't think you got fired. I think what happens is that people have friends.
Yes, of course.
We are in the world of nepotism,
right.
And whether it's a family member or a friend. And the reason they weren't there right at the beginning was they weren't available. And when their friend becomes available, their friend comes on. Because these are well-paying jobs, and they're few and far between. Yeah. So what I find is you end up finding, like, how did you get this job? Well, I know so-and-so. I know one of the producers and one of the producers. Yes. And you guys aren't under contract.
Right. No.
So as soon as a friend becomes available... Yeah. That friend is there for the check.
You're exactly right, because we all know. I mean, Gary's deeper into the warm up than me. That tends to happen. Almost any show has one warm up guy at the beginning, or 3 or 4 warm up guys for the first month, and then it settles into one person that ends up taking it from that point on. It's right, that
jumps in.
That's usually, like you said.
It's funny. I want to ask you something about your daytime show, because when I came down to see it, I just remember just being blown away, because I'd never really seen a show tape before. Because when I was living in San Francisco, you must look at now like the landscape. There's so many different daytime shows. I mean, would you want to jump back into something like that, or that was then and?
Well, I'll be totally honest with you. I do love that format. That was not a good time for me personally. And I'll tell you why. Because I had been filling in for Regis many times, and they said, "Oh, you should have your own show," And it was fun because I was like, I didn't have a boss, and I didn't have anybody to answer to, so I would go on that show. And at that time, it was Kathy Lee,
right?
And me and Kathy Lee would have a great time, and the ratings would be really great. And then they said, "You got to do the show. You got to do a show." Yeah. And I said, "Okay, I'll do a show." And I went into daytime, and I had a friend that was going to produce. This is why I talk about nepotism and all these other things. I had a friend who had produced a lot of my HBO comedy specials and that. And then this woman, and I said, she'll produce it. She's produced television, and she knows me. And then they said to me that this is the first, when I look back, the first marking on the wall. And they said, "No, we want somebody who has done daytime. We're not going to have your friend." Because it is a niche. Yeah. It is a different audience. Right. It is somebody. So now I had an executive producer who was not kind of in tune with me. And then it was about then they said shave. Then they said take out the earrings.
Yeah.
Then they said wear a suit. Then they said, you're going to do all these makeover. I'm really not interested in makeover, and
right.
I mean, right now you couldn't tell then, but I have no interest in hair. But and cooking segments, and I'm really not interested in how they do the scenes on soap operas. But they kept saying this is the daytime audience, this is the female. But ultimately you got to be true to yourself. Ellen is true to herself, and that's why it's successful. Rosie, the people that really rose in those Oprah, they're really, Judge Judy is just herself. And that wasn't me. And I fought it all the time. And I used to say to the executive producer, I said, if you can give me one thing, if I blow it or I make a mistake or something goes wrong, never yell cut. Because that's when I'll be at my best, and that's when I'll be at my, that's who I am.
Right.
I like those
rough
edges, and I like being the person who maybe stepped into the wrong room or stepped up the wrong. And I can't tell you how many times, I'd hear cut, and I go cut. They go, well, the pencil rolled off your desk. And I go, well, it doesn't really matter. And if that is a problem, then come in while we're rolling and tell me the pencil's off the desk.
Right,
and I'll go pick it up, and maybe something will happen because it's got to be real. And that's the farthest from real I ever was.
Right.
And they wouldn't allow me. So that was when it was over, that's why, regardless of anything you ever see me on, Deal or No Deal, AGT, wherever I am, and I love doing all those shows, but my favorite and most comfortable place is always stand-up, because there are no marks to hit.
Yeah.
There's no editing to be done. It's my primal scream at the end of the day.
Right.
It's really hard. My whole entire life, it's been really hard for me to fit into the confines of any rule.
Yeah.
I don't have a GED. I didn't finish school. So I will abide by rules. I am a parent, and I am a husband, and I've been with my wife for 40 years. I can live... and I don't get speeding tickets, and I can live within the confines of rules, and I love doing America's Got Talent, and I love Deal or No Deal. I never had bigger success than that. But the truth be told, it's really depending on what confines and restrictions you put on me, and that was professionally the biggest, most restrictive thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
So I would love to appear on a daily show, whether it be nightly or daily or whatever, if they allowed me to appear as me. Even when I got Deal or No Deal, it was a big, controversy whether I should wear my earrings. And I just went, I really don't give a shit about my earrings.
Right.
But I'm not going to start there. I'm not taking them off.
Right.
And it was just like, I'm not taking them off.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, and it's funny because when I came out and I had shaved my head, came out on television and that, they go, oh, it's the new Howie. No, it's not the new Howie Mandel.
Right.
This is the old Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
I've never been allowed to be, aside from on stage, I got my ears pierced in the 70s. I don't wear earrings now. I'm not into wearing earrings now. But, I got them pierced in the 70s, and I've always had to change and dress differently than I actually am. And I don't do that anymore.
Do you think that experience with the daytime show is what kind of got you to that point where you're like, look, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not falling in the same spot where I'm just doing what everyone expects me to do. I'm going to do what I want to do and my thing.
The truth is, this is an amazingly wonderful business, but it is such an emotionally debilitating business. As you guys were just talking about, somebody comes off and says, you're great. And then what?
Yeah, the ups and downs, the roller coaster.
Are hard.
Yeah.
They're really hard because you got all these self-doubt. Howie came up to me and said this was great, and he's never seen it, and they didn't call me back tomorrow. And there's somebody, but that's what this business is. And it kills, I have my own mental health issues as it is. So this doesn't, I don't know that this helps me. It just, I'm more medicated than I've ever been so that I don't, but that's it. They go, you're perfect. We're giving you a show.
Right.
But you can't look like this. You can't dress like this. You can't act like this. You got to pull, earrings are indicative of, whatever changes that need to be done. And, that Howie Mandel was not, obviously it's always me, but it's a portion of me. Deal or No Deal was the first time when I was really nervous. I didn't want to do it. When I got called to do Deal or No Deal, I was at the lowest point of my career and my life. I had been rejected and I wasn't doing much and I wasn't selling a lot of tickets. And then I got a call, we want you to host a game show. And I don't know if you could put yourself back in 2004 and 2005, but comedians did not do game shows.
Right.
The punchline for a comic was the game show host. Mm-hmm. You made fun of, that was the irony.
Right. So
you didn't want to be, and it was probably considered the lowest rung, like you do features, you do television, you do commercials, and you do game shows.
Right.
And when they asked me to do it, I said no. I said no 3 times until my wife saw that I was in a tailspin mentally and said, hey, listen, you just got to get out of the house and do something. And I went and did that show. The planning I had for that show, what I wrapped my head around was, no comedians had done shows, except the last time comedians had done game shows was Groucho Marx.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
going back that far.
No, but that's what it was. And Johnny Carson did one right before he did the Tonight Show. But before that, somebody who had a comedy career who went into specific comedy, nobody. So I asked them can I hire somebody to write with me? I had these ideas, because again, I was really scared it was going to be short of that 15 hours that we spent. It was going to be 1 hour of just saying, open the there's no game, there's no skill, it's just me.
So it's riding on you.
And I thought, okay, I can be funny and there's something. So I had all these plans. And what happened was, I'll never forget, and I got the picture right here somewhere, I'll show it to you. But I had the picture, I'll never forget her name. Her name's Karen Van, was the very first contestant. And after all this practicing, they roll tape, and they go, Howie Mandel, and I go, deal or no deal? And then I look, and I'm standing as close as I am to you guys right now, to a real person, to Karen Van. And Karen Van, I ask her a question about herself, and she tells me she's got 3 children, she has no health insurance, she's never owned a home.
Oh, geez.
And at that time, again, in 2005, besides Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, $1 million was huge. And it still is huge, but I mean, nobody had really, there hadn't been that much
that prize,
$1 million on TV, number one. Number two, for somebody who doesn't live in LA, that buys 3 lifetimes of comfort.
Yep.
It buys, many homes, cars, insurance. Your life has changed forever.
Sure.
So having talked to her and looking at her and seeing the kids in the background, you guys have been on sets. For those that haven't been on sets, which is most contestants on game shows, when they're in the center of it, you notice a glaze comes over somebody. And it's a glaze of, oh my God, I'm in another world. There's 10 cameras. There's 300 people. I'm in Hollywood. I've never been in Hollywood. And then I thought, as I looked at her, the first offer came in. And the first offers was always like $10,000 or $20,000. And think about this: $10,000.
Sure,
$10,000. And I looked at her, and I could tell that she wasn't listening.
She's glazed over.
She's glazed over. And I thought, I can't do a joke, and I can't because I don't want to be. I wasn't listening. I was laughing. I didn't realize what he said. So it became more about. I'm a human first before I'm a comedian. I gotta, Karen, you're sitting there with your 3 kids. There's an offer here. And that changed my cadence. And I would go, $20,000. Deal or no deal? Like, really, do you hear me? $20,000. Or you have to open up another 4 cases. And really it was everything short of just grabbing her by the neck and going, are you out of your fucking mind?
Right.
You have been here for 10 minutes. You've done nothing. You have nothing. You live in middle America. $20,000 is a down payment on a home.
Sure.
It's your rent for the next 10 years. Take the fucking $20,000.
Right.
You've already won. Jeopardy, these people who study for years, they're lucky if they walk out with $6,000 salary.
At the end of the day,
This is $20,000. And I threw everything by the wayside, like all my comedy and everything. And it was just like the truest form. The first time I've ever been on television, just being a human being, being myself, being a father, being a husband, And after I finished taping it, I was so embarrassed because I said I didn't, as we know, as comics, we kind of create and plan and have a closing and have the ending and this is what I'm going to do. And I wasn't outrageous and I was just myself. It was like I bared myself naked. I had empathy because another human being had that. And when it was going to air, I flew out of North America.
To get away.
I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be made fun of. And I started getting texts do you know what the ratings were last night? And then the next night, they played 5 nights in a row. The next night, they went up. The next night, they went up. And it became this phenomenon.
Buzz, yeah.
And I landed back in Miami, and within 30 seconds, somebody came up to me and went, "Hey, deal or no deal?"
Oh,
it was like a catchphrase.
Yeah.
I went, "Oh, my God." I was so embarrassed of it. It was not expected.
Wow.
I did it on because my wife wanted to get me out of the house, and I was like flailing mentally. And it was the only time that I've ever been without humor, true to myself. And after that, there was a plethora of game shows. The next one was Who's Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah.
And then, Bob Saget did the 100.
That's
One
right.
versus 100.
One versus 100. And then, and then we could talk about Drew Carey and
just
Steve
the weight of
Harvey
it.
and all these other people that Kevin Pollak and Wade Brady. And they went and mined, comedians. Mm-hmm. But before that, it was nothing, and it kind of changed my life. And, I've known that. As somebody who had done, 22 Tonight shows with Johnny Carson, I realized, I used to really be particular about the sets that I was putting together, and I go, and this is my joke. And the throwaway, when I was sitting on the counter, on the couch, was what America would glom on to the next day. The throwaway. As I got known in the early 80s or the late 70s as the guy that put the rubber glove on my head.
Right.
That came out of being on stage and going blank and not having anything to do. And I have OCD, and I was carrying gloves, and I just put it on my head, and I started breathing. The fingers were going up and down. This was not something that I ever thought would be a closer. This is not something I ever dreamed would buy me my house. This is not something that I ever thought I would be known for, yet you don't know.
Right.
And that's why, here I am in my 60s, saying that if I had to give anybody any advice, it is, you don't know, you can't plan, just say, okay, just walk through every door. Some doors are just going to be, a pile of shit, and you're going to step in it.
Yeah.
But what you're going to learn from that is, I'm not going to go through that door again.
Right.
But just every open door, walk through. Our instinct is not, when we think about something, it doesn't help us. Thought is not a good thing. We are an instinctual animal. And, Nike has that phrase, just do it. And that's what I learned. And I also learned that if I ever did another daytime show, going back to your question, it wouldn't look anything or be anything like the one you saw.
Right.
It might not be successful, but I tell you that I would approach it totally differently, and I would be very comfortable in just being myself. And whether it works, you just throw yourself out there. That's what life is. And we're all, unperfect. We all have our issues. We all have, just throw yourself out there, and it's going to work. And that's why even, you call me and you say, do you want to be on a podcast? Yes, I'd like to do a podcast. Let's do it. And I'll say, let's do it to anything, anywhere, anytime. I'll go do a concert at a theater now, in some state I do, 200 a year. And then I find out if I'm still up, if there's a club in the area, I'll drop in on the club. I don't know what's going to come from, what's going to happen. And that's what life is. Life's too short. Well, it is the right way. You ask anybody who's ever had any success, they just did it.
Right.
Do you still, though, it's so funny because Steve and I are at a level much lower in terms of, you go to comedy clubs, they're always screwing you over, they're always shorting the bonuses, they won't give you a hotel, they won't do this. But you would look at you and you're at a level now where you can kind of call all the shots. Do you still feel like that you're still fighting all the time with executives and kind of
No, in fact, you say your level and my level. We're not at, I have 3 children, I have grandchildren, and this is what I said. The level is success. Success is the ability to find something that you're passionate about. Yeah. You're successful in life. To reach whatever you deem the paycheck that is successful, or whatever you think the notoriety, that all goes away. Yeah. We all are heading to the same place. And nobody's the richest guy in a graveyard. And you could be as big as I can't imagine anybody as big as the Beatles or the notoriety the Beatles have. Yeah. My grandkids have no idea who they are.
Right.
Their fame doesn't. So success is something from within. Finding that comedy you want to do, you're just as successful as I am. If you want to go outside yourself, I have bigger fights than you have. I am dissed more than you are. I am, and I'll tell you why. Because you'd think after I had a series and after I had this that I wouldn't
you always
get,
think the next level's going to solve
that I wouldn't get treated this way. It's a bigger slap. They don't want to take a meeting. They say no. They cancel. They don't want to give you. They offer you half of what you got on the last show. Really? After what I did on Deal or No Deal, I'm going to get offered half? Yes, I get offered half. So I'm humiliated harder and more than you are. Yeah. You are at a better level than me. At least so the point is, and you have the ability to do a show now at this level. I came up in the 70s when I couldn't do a podcast. Right. I would have loved the opportunity to say, okay, I can go get a guest on a show and I can go do a show today because I want to do a show. Do you know how many hoops I had to go do a show? I can't do a show. So you don't look at anybody else to kind of measure your success. Your success is you got up in the morning. If you're excited, and I don't care if you're excited about your fucking stamp collection. If you got 3 stamps, you have the ability, you're alive today, and you have 3 fucking stamps.
Yeah. Right.
And this is my collection.
Right.
And you may have 200 stamps, but I got 300, and I love my stamps. And I spend time with my stamps. And I just can't wait to get home from work, from cleaning shit, to look at my stamps. That's success. Because there are so many people in this world right now who hate every minute of their life.
Yeah.
And that's not success. And I don't care how much money they have. And the connotation of hump day is Wednesday when they are halfway through doing the shit they don't want to be doing to maybe get to the weekend where they don't have to do that shit. But there's nothing really exciting happening on the weekend. It's just like nothing. And I'll tell you something. I would have been, when I found stand-up comedy, which was April 19th, 1977 at Yuck Yucks. It was in the heart of and I was in retail business. It was in the heart of the disco craze. I didn't like disco. I don't like dancing. I'm not a disco person. And I went into this club because it opened up, and I thought, oh my God, this is and the guy Mark Breslin, who was the host, said any amateurs want to get up and try it on Monday night. And I went, okay, I'll do that. And I went and did it. Yeah. And the first time I got enveloped by a laugh, and one laugh, a lot of it didn't work. I thought, oh my God, I'm home. Yeah, this is where I want, and I wasn't getting paid, and I dropped down there every night of the week, and just to watch other comics, and there was this other ne'er-do-wells, for lack of a better, people who wanted to put themselves out there and act goofy or bare their soul or whatever. This was so different in that time. That was I was in the middle of the boom of comedy, from the Catch a Rising Stars to the improvs to the Yuck Yucks to it was amazing, and I was so happy. And I promise you, if I would have went to a shitty job every day, but once a week, I could get that. Like people like to get together with their friends and play cards. I don't play cards. Or people like to have a basketball game at the Y. If I could have that even today, and I had to have another job, I made it.
Yeah,
right.
And the fact that I'm here in Van Nuys in an office is just because I continually say yes to things that don't really make sense, to sometimes seem like really bad ideas. But I say yes. And I've done some really bad ideas.
Are you talking about this? Our podcast? Howie, if this was...
But I've learned to never do another podcast.
Let me just say this, Howie, if you should go out of the country when we drop this podcast. When you come back in, they'll be like, Gentlemen's Dojo, were you on the...
It's just interesting because, we look at a guy like you, and I'm sure a lot of people do, and they see you and all your success, and they, I'm sure people from the outside looking in say, well, there's a guy that has everything and doesn't have all the things. Yeah, doesn't have all the things that you mentioned. And then, the way you pointed out, that's everybody's dealing with their own demons and issues. And because I would think you can get whatever you want. You could call up and get a meeting immediately, and you could do this and you could do that. And then, you're saying, no, I mean, everybody's out for their own agenda.
They really are. And it's not as easy. I mean, I'm not complaining. I think I'm, I have everything I've ever dreamed of and more, but to say that I don't get kicked in the nuts 5 times a week would be wrong. And, I do try to get people on the phone that I can't get on the phone. I do try to sell things that I can't sell. I do want to do things that nobody's offering me.
Yeah. Right.
And all the time. And that's just business. And then aside from business, my own demons. I'm a mess. I'm medicated as we speak. We're all a mess. We all have our own humility and humanity, and I deal with anxiety and depression and all the time. There isn't a hump to get over where you go, oh my God, This is what it's all
the
about.
green pasture.
It's not humility, humanity. Being a human being is tough. There's a T-shirt. I didn't make it up. Shit happens. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
There's that great story in the movie Comedian with Seinfeld where he said that band, there was a band that was traveling, their plane or their bus got caught in the mud, and they were going to a gig like on Christmas, and they were dragging all their equipment through this mud and this rain, and they came up on a house that was like this Swiss Family Robinson house, and they looked in, and people there was a fire going, and they were all gathered around the table playing a board game, and it's just this great typical middle American family. And one of the band members looks in, he's like, how do people live like that? Just like this greatest, because they were doing what they wanted to do, and it was absolutely crazy to think that. Do you get speaking of people disagreeing, do people tweet you like, hey, I can't believe you didn't like that person on AGT, I can't believe that you didn't vote them through?
You would not, in this day and age, and I talk always with other comedians, social media is a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
And it's a blessing because when I was coming up, there was one stage to go to. You needed time at the Comedy Store or the Improv here only in LA, really, to get to that next level, to get somebody on television to see you, and that was it. Now, with social media, you could post a podcast, you could post a video.
It's funny you say that, because last night we were talking about the prep for this and social media, and I said, I think Howie, let's talk to him about the difference when he started to now. I think, and I mean this as the ultimate compliment, you would have, if the stuff that was around today was around when you started, you would have been like a Vine star with the videos. Like,
I like the idea. Ever. Yeah, but then again, you have to do. There's a lot of things. I'm an insomniac, and I don't sleep, and I live on social media, and I look at all these things and all the. But it's also what is going to break through. You don't know. It's so noisy out there, and there's so much stuff. And to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff I don't even really understand why it becomes as big as it is.
But I remember, like, one of my favorite things you've ever done is at the beginning of one of your specials, or maybe it was interspersed, is you're on the beach, I think, in Hawaii, and you're yelling after people, and then they're turning around, right?
Yeah.
And it's just exactly what you would expect on, like, a video that now some kid who's never done comedy whatsoever,
but by the
gets
same
millions
token, and I think he was asking this, I'm also open, and everybody is, to be hit so hard, so negatively, so... I have no talent.
Sure.
I know that Jimmy Kimmel does this thing, mean tweets, but they're real.
Yeah.
I think I'm opening up my Twitter as we speak. I will find you can't read three things without reading something horrible and personal and and maybe even dangerous. Like God, I'm looking as we speak, but it'll be in the top.
You quickly found.
Things. And does it affect you? I mean, is it like something like? I mean, you've been in the business.
I'll tell you what affects me, and not people saying bad things. What affects me is, and I've talked about this with Chris Rock and other people, is the ability for, they call it social media. Well, first of all, you're not, media, the connotation of media used to be like a newspaper man, somebody in radio, somebody in television. Some idiot alone in his underpants in his room becomes media. But you can say something that can snowball. The art of comedy, what I loved about the art, my biggest influence ever in comedy, and you wouldn't be able to tell from knowing me and knowing what I do, is Richard Pryor. And I'll tell you why. Richard Pryor, besides him being brilliant, he was the guy, when I first came out here in the 70s, I watched him write live on the Sunset Strip. And I watched him show up every night. There were crowds of people just wanting to just catch a glimpse of this. But he showed up on stage every night trying out material. Paul Mooney was off to the side writing down his stuff, and then they'd sit and talk about it and hone it. But the bravery that he had to, and he was already a star. Yeah. He had done movies. The bravery he had to throw shit out there against the wall and maybe it not work. Maybe it was even really offensive. Maybe somebody's jaw would drop, not because they thought it was funny, but how the fuck could you say something like that? But that was the first time I thought, that's what these comedy clubs are for. I'd come up an amateur night, and that gave me the ability, and that's why even to this day, I will want to drop in after a concert. If there's 3 people in the room, I want to just try something, because ultimately we sitting in our homes or wherever we're sitting, or in your studio in Burbank, you have an idea, but until you share that idea with an audience, you really don't know. Like, I've always contended that, you know, people go to comedy clubs at amateur night, they see horrible comedy, but nobody's there on their own. Nobody shows up there just because, unless they're totally delusional and they have a mental health problem. Somebody is there because they have a friend or an aunt at the Thanksgiving table. They go, "You're so funny. You should try that."
So
it's the luck of the draw. It's really luck that your sensibility and your sense of humor is shared by a wider swath than just your uncle.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what that I will never say to anybody, even on America's Got Talent, that's not funny. I could say I don't get it. I could say that doesn't tickle my, you know, this, like, for any art form. So the beauty was that he was throwing shit out there because, like a painter who shades, you know, you throw the first paint on the canvas, you see like a black dot on the canvas. You go, well, that's not a, what is that? Well, then you see that he puts some red in it, and then there's some shading, and then you see he adds something else to it, and then and then it's this beautiful tree, and it grows. And comedy isn't much unlike that.
Yeah.
You know, you throw a word or you have a concept, but you didn't hit it right, and I should close with this, and I should do that. What happens now in this age of social media, number one, we can't throw that black piece of paint out because it could be politically incorrect. Somebody in the audience could have a phone, could record you. Right. You could lose your whole career, number one. Number two, they could just record you, and that goes out there, and it's an unfinished piece. Look at his painting of comedy. It's not good. It's really hard to, like, experiment and be totally open and be free-spirited without the concern that this is going to get out there. And the more notoriety you have, and I'm not going to say success, but the more, you know, if I drop in on a club and I just want to try something outrageous, I can't really do that and feel okay, because it may be stupid and it may not work. I used to be, I watched Richard Pryor be fearless. I'm not fearless anymore. There was a time when I was, but I'm not fearless anymore because I don't know what context. I controlled the context in the 70s and the early 80s. I don't control it now.
That's interesting.
And you still go out. I remember I've run into it definitely once, maybe twice at, like, the 3rd Street Playhouse in Santa Monica at the comedy show there.
I'll drop in any
You'll
place.
Pop in and do sets. And
I still do it because I don't know
in front
of. I love it, and I love the process of creating.
Yeah.
Not only getting the laugh, but finding the funny. You know, I have an idea, but I don't know if it's and the only way that I can really hone it is I need an audience, a semblance of an audience. You know, it doesn't have to be 100 people. It could be 8 people. But I need that. And people who don't know me and don't know, I just want to try. And I want to try it. I'll drop in on that club. And then the same night, if I'm doing that, I'll drop in on 4 different clubs. And try the same thing and maybe change the word and hone it and think about it. Even though it seems like I'm very improvisational, and I'm willing to be improvisational and go off the cuff. I really take my comedy really seriously and try to do that. But in this day and age of social media, besides the meanness, they're also mean about the art form, about the political correctness, about the, you know, it's just a scary time. It really is.
Well, we were wondering that too. Like with AGT, you see a comic come out, they do 90 seconds. Don't you have to immediately think, like, can this person, let's say they win the whole thing. You're thinking always bigger pictures. This person, $1 million act. Can this person, I know that I'm seeing 90 seconds, but can this person do an hour on a late show Friday night at a club? Like, I mean, obviously, like Tom Cotter was a headliner.
I don't.
No.
I kind of, here's what I try to get across to my cohorts and even people in the audience at home watching. I have respect for every comedian. You know, it was Jerry Seinfeld kind of talked about the first time, I think it was the Aspen Comedy Festival, he was receiving an award, and I don't know, did you ever see his speech about the award receiving? He said, as a comic, we're not used to receiving awards. We're usually at the end of the show. You know, maybe sometimes we're invited to sit down at the couch. Nobody really gives it. You know, it's really funny because the biggest award in show business is an Oscar. And think about an actor. What does an actor do? An actor gets picked up from his house. They'll go to a set where they'll dress you. They'll comb your hair. They put maybe a mask on you or some makeup. Then they go put a piece of tape on the floor. And they say, what I need you to do is walk in, stop at that tape, and then here's what I want you to say. There's no thought. You're going to memorize words that they tell you to say. So they tell you to say that, and you walk in, you say that, and they go, no, not great, cut. Try it again, and maybe you'll try it like 200 times, and then they'll put another piece of tape because they want to shoot it from another angle. Then somebody will go into an edit bay and cut all the angles so it looks very different than what happened that day, but it looks that. And then one night they go, fucking brilliant. Here's an award. Where a comedian sits alone, writes his own script, creates his own character, dresses himself, and needs to elicit from an audience a huge response every 30 seconds, because if it's really quiet and he doesn't get that, or she doesn't get that, then he realizes that maybe it's not working. So he needs to make it work. He's got it. So on AGT, somebody comes out and sings an Ariana Grande song. Well, you have a nice voice and you're singing their song, but then the comic comes out and everybody's willing really quickly to go, not funny, not good, bye. Yeah. But the truth is that, and I talk about comedians and comics, the difference being that, one says funny things and one says things funny. If you've created a character that's really likable, I may not respond or understand your reference. I may not even get what your joke is, but I understand what goes into it and how hard it is to be here. And the criteria for our show is not to be able to do an hour set. You don't have to do it. You come to an hour. I'm the same guy that had the 3-minute set, and that's all I had. And I didn't even have a set. I made it big, and I got pretty big, saying what, and rolling a rubber glove on my head. And what was, that came out of me just not understanding what they were. I came out on stage, and I was so frenetic and so scared. Yeah. And I went, okay. And I was trying to remember. And they started giggling at me, and I'm going, what? Yeah. And then they started giggling more at my what. My material and my persona came from the audience, came from real fear, real being inquisitive and not really understanding, not having anything to do, so I just pulled a rubber glove on my head. So what I'm saying is, I'm not going to judge material as much as I'll judge, are you a character that I want to see again? And can you, and I don't even judge by, is that worthy of a show in Vegas? I judge that 90 seconds or that 2 minutes. You got something. I don't know what it is. You're kind of funny. I didn't particularly laugh at because it's not my world, whatever it is you were talking about, and I don't know. For me, comedy is about relating. If something embarrassing happened to you, that's why I hate jokes. I hate joke. When somebody comes up to me and says, I got to tell you a joke, you want to hear something funny. No. 2 guys walked into a bar. No, they didn't. And my basis of humor is off of reality, awkwardness, and discomfort, So I don't remember what the question was, but the truth is that judging comedy, I try to educate everybody to understand how many levels and how hard. That's their material. It's their time. They're naked. There's no band. They need to elicit a lot more than somebody who sings a song and then gets an applause at the end, because that's what you're going to get. Or even if you're asking them to clap along to your rhythm, we need so much more as comedians. And to get that in 90 seconds, if they got 3 laughs, it's hard to laugh.
Right.
It's hard that you can't just tell somebody to really laugh.
Yeah.
Who was a comic that did the show that you were disappointed didn't go further?
Didn't go further.
Maybe got cut.
I have, the kind of comics that I personally respond to are the kind of comics that I believe are, I loved like Andy Kaufman and that kind of comedy. Now you could say I don't know that America responds to that in the, as much as they respond to, classic material.
Right. The masses, maybe.
The masses. I like that. We have a comic on this season that I absolutely love. Do you know who Jeffrey, the good boy of comedy, is?
No. I'm excited to see him.
Wait till you see him.
Yeah.
But I wonder if America will respond.
Yeah.
Because it's just a weird character.
Yeah. Well, one of the people I was thinking of, even as you were talking about it there, just you were saying not even the jokes, and she's a fantastic joke writer, but like Wendy Liebman on the show, you just get a feeling when she's on stage, right? You're like, I like this person.
And if she's likable
nice,
and you want to spend time and you want to listen to her, whether... But comedy is so narrowcast. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like it's kind of like music, in the sense that... And that's why I've always... Though my Golden Buzzer last year had originals, Grace VanderWaal, but I've always contended that the best thing, and I fought with Howard when he was on the show, that if you want to win this, it's basically a popularity contest. If you're going to already pick a top 40 song and you have a good voice, you've got a good chance of winning. If everybody already loves the song, comedians can't do that.
Right.
They can't just come on and do a George Carlin or a Rodney Dangerfield routine. If they were allowed to just recite it and do it good, there's a good chance that they would win. But then you'd go, hey,
they'd be punished
as a comedian,
for it.
You'd go, that's not your material. That's not your...
Wasn't there an issue, speaking of which, wasn't there an issue with a comic who then the warm-up said that he stole his... Yeah, and the comic was a guy named Greg, who I know, right? But there was an issue with that, right?
Yeah, so in the middle of taping, the warm-up guy came out as he was doing it, saying, "That's my act."
Right.
I don't know if that was the case, because also having been in this business for a long time, it is very possible that if you're thinking along funny lines, there are chances that there's another funny person that came up with the same joke. I did this this WWE event almost 2 years ago. I think I did it, and right after Donald Trump announced his candidacy. And I said, and this was like far before you even thought that he had a chance. It was kind of funny that he announced it.
Going.
And I remember on that, and you could look it up, it's on tape. I remember on that I said, can you imagine if he's in the White House, it brings a whole new meaning to orange is the new black. Since that time, I've heard maybe a half a dozen comics use that exact same line. Yeah. I don't think anybody stole my bit. I think that's an obvious way to go. His orange was out there. That is a show. You're thinking of iconic ideas, So the truth of the matter is, I even remember the bit that you're talking about.
The car driving.
Yes, inside a closed window watching two people argue.
Yes.
But we've all been in, the reason that got huge laughs and did really well, even for Frank, is because we've seen that.
Right.
Is it possible that more than one comic... I don't know what their relationship is and I don't know the guy that was on our show, but is it possible that more than one comic has been out in traffic, seen that, and thought that's a great bit to recite? It's always possible.
Right.
So, and what happened as a result of that? Did he... Because I thought that Frank then went to the producers and said, this is my bit, and then that guy got cut or something like that, from what I remember.
I don't know what happened.
Interesting.
I swear I don't know what happened, but,
well, like you said, watch the late night shows on any given night. There's always that parallel thinking where Fallon will do a joke similar as Conan, or, you know what I mean?
Myers, so they're all doing it, It's all very similar.
They're all doing that. And by the way, speaking of AGT, how is the new dynamic now with Tyra Banks hosting? Because I know that you... We're obviously very close with Nick Cannon.
I am, and I still am, and I still talk to him. I was heartbroken at the fact that he decided to move on, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Our show was number one in the summer. But I also respect his integrity for, doing what he wants to do creatively, and he is very busy, and he's doing well. And I just started working with Tyra, and I got to tell you, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She really has a great sense of humor. She knows comedy. She's stunning. And listen, we just talked about people's heart being broken on our stage. Sometimes if they don't go on, what better place to go than to be coddled by Tyra Banks? Oh my God!
Right.
I just want to be a short man who needs a hug.
It's got to be better for you too now that the show's out here in LA, right? That you're not cross-country commuting.
Amazingly easier for me. Me at my age, at this time in my career, it's so great to just get into a car and drive to work and then drive home. And when we were in New York, though, I love Howard and I love New York and I love Radio City Music Hall. When we were doing the live shows, I was commuting. So every Wednesday and Thursday, I'd fly in and then fly back
Right.
I do enough flying as it is. As I say, I do 200 dates a year. The reason I'm in Van Nuys is because I'm right by the airport here, so I can have this podcast, get on a plane.
Right.
This week I get on a plane and fly out and then come back and have my meetings and do my business. And I'm trying to make things as easy as possible.
We could keep you here all day, but we want to start wrapping up because, obviously, you're so busy, but we have so many things. Steve and I are such huge Howard Stern fans. Huge. And
you're always fantastic on it.
Thank you.
Can you just share that story? And you shared it on Stern, and I just want our listeners to hear it, where you were in high school and you called up the construction company to do like a builder to get work done on the school.
Oh yeah, but I came to comedy. I want to set up why I thought, and it didn't work for me. But there was always comedy in my house. And my parents always laughed and always watched The Tonight Show, Jack Parr, and they always watched. And my dad used to buy comedy albums and then bring them home. And I used to see my mom and my dad. They'd throw on this record, or they'd watch TV, and they'd be laughing. And I was 3 or 4 years old, and I'd walk in, and everybody's laughing, and you know that laughter is good. But I didn't get it, you know. And even if I watched the comic, said something about a mother, I don't even know what a mother-in-law is.
Yeah.
The first time I recollect that I could join the party was, and he's my hero, was Alan Funt on Candid Camera.
Yeah.
And I sat at my parents' feet. They were watching Sunday night. They were watching Candid Camera, and he explained. You could be 2 years old and understand this. That I'm going to hire somebody who thinks they're going to be a receptionist and they're going to answer the phone. And every time the phone rings, and they can't miss a call, they were told, and they reach for the phone, I got a rope attached to the desk that goes through the wall. There's guys on the other side, and when she goes to reach for the phone, we're going to pull the rope, and the desk is going to go away. Right? So I kind of understood, and that was like a surprise party, and it's just like really a lot of excitement in my living room just in that moment. The first time they put somebody there, the phone rings, she goes and reaches it, they pull the rope, the desk is gone, and the awe on her face, it was the most guttural, wonderful laugh I've ever seen by my mom, my dad, and me all together. And I went, oh my God, I love this. I love to laugh. It's comedy. Again, remember, 4 or 5 years old, no understanding that you need a TV show, you need an audience, you need a cohort. So that became, I tried to always recreate that. And then I became my own little Alan Funt without a show. Now, I can't sit. I've been diagnosed with OCD and ADHD later on in life, but I can't sit. And I wasn't the class clown in as far as, having the witty response, but I would always set these things up because I knew it was funny.
Yeah.
I just never shared. So I thought it was funny one day to sit in class, and I was on the second or third floor in math class, and I had called the Yellow Pages. I'd always done like prank calls just alone. I didn't have any friends, and I called the Yellow Pages and I said, we're getting an addition onto the library, and I think your company, I called a construction company. I'd like you to give us, I'd like to expand it, 20 feet into the field. And could you give us a bid? And can you come tomorrow? Can you come at 3 o'clock? I knew when I was going to be in the class.
But you must have done it at home, right? Because obviously there was no phones. But so you went back home and did this.
No, I made an appointment for the time of my math class so that I would sit, not telling any friends. That's how different I think I am. I didn't tell any friends, but I'm sitting in math class. I couldn't concentrate, and I look out the window, and I'm just enjoying myself. This guy with a tape measure, he's measuring out into the field, and he's got, a belt, like a little tool belt. He's writing things down on his clipboard, and then I see the principal go out. I can't hear what's going on. I see the vice principal go out and talk to him, and I see him doing it, and I know that I had given my name. I'd given my name and everything, and I thought, oh, it's so funny, and I'm really enjoying math like I never did before. Lo and behold, within minutes, I get, will Howard Mandel please come down to the office? So I go down to the office, and to me, this is also funny because the principal is saying, I was just outside, and the gentleman has your name, and he said that you've authorized an addition onto our library. And I said, that is not true. And he said, well, he said he had your name. I said, no. I'm getting 3 bids. And then it was really funny to me. There's nobody there, and I don't have an audience. And really, almost like I was dangerous. The guy kind of backs up. He goes, could you just have a seat here, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes? And he goes into the office. As it turns out, he called my parents and told my parents to come right down.
Yeah.
And my parents come right down, and they're sitting there. And then now I'm sitting in the room. and they said, your son authorized an addition onto the library. And it was just like and that's what I love more than laughter. I love awkward silence and I could see my mom biting her lip. Like, I don't know what he expected to hear from her or my mother. Like, we've told him never to put an addition onto the library. Yeah. We told him he isn't authorized to hire construction company. Like, what did he? I don't know what he wanted, but it was just quiet. And eventually, I got asked to leave the school, and they called in psychologists, and their recommendation is that I had behavioral problems. I got thrown at 3 different schools for all different events like this. And people, this became hearsay in the school. It's funny because people will come up to me now, you were so funny in school, but I didn't have a friend in school because I was just deemed insane. Like, I would do these crazy things and not for a laugh, just how he really believed. And I kind of liked that folklore of believing. That people were a little afraid of me. I was, I saw people pointing at me and talking about me. So that was my own little notoriety when I was a kid. But
that's so funny.
I just love that idea. That idea that you called about the extension for the library, and then like a day later, you've almost forgotten about. Like, you're just like sitting in the classroom, and then you see them measuring. And they're like, "Oh, that's right."
But the bigger part of it is, it's like, who's the audience? Me. Throughout my whole life, and even now when I do things, my wife and my mom have always said to me, like, "Well, where's the joke? Who's the joke on, Howie? They just think you're an idiot." And I go, "I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I really am okay with that. I am more than getting a laugh, more than when somebody is looking at me and going, what? Really?" What just happened to me? I find that so much funnier, so much more exciting, so much more discomfort. And I live, because of my mental health problems, in a very awkward, uncomfortable world. So I'm very comfortable in discomfort and awkwardness. And if you think about comedy, really, it's always about somebody else's misfortune or when the 2 guys walk into a bar, something embarrassing happens to one of them. I just like to be in control of what happens to that person,
right?
Or if somebody gets a pie in the face, you're laughing at a clown falls down, you're laughing at their misfortune, and they're awkward and they're uncomfort, and I like to create that world. That's why I love Hidden Cameras, my favorite thing, because I find it the most relatable comedy.
Yeah.
There are people who will say it's mean. Why are you doing that? It's not really mean, because truth be told, we're all human, and it brings all of us to the same level.
Right.
We all believe whatever is being said to us. We all believe the situation we're in, and we all react differently. And let's just watch. Nobody's better than anybody. And we're all there to, if we can't have fun and we can't laugh at it, we're just going to cry and be angry and fight. Comedy is and laughter is a great bridge to sanity.
Yeah.
And that's why you still love doing all the road dates. I mean, it's just a chance for you to just break out beyond your own.
I will never stop doing that because it also gets me into the real world. Living in LA or New York and working in production, I like behind the scenes as much as I love. You don't meet. This is not a real world, and people here in this community aren't real. But when you're in the middle of Iowa,
right,
and and even through their sensibility of what they're relating to and laughing at, you really get a sense of the people you're writing for, performing for, making TV for, making movies for. That's America.
Right.
When you're in that mall.
Right.
Being at the Beverly Center here in LA is not America.
Right.
Nobody really looks like anybody else.
Right.
I'm not surprised by anything anymore because I'm out there and I spend more time in front of America than I do in front of people in New York, Miami, and LA.
Right.
And I kind of know who I'm catering to.
Well, we need to start wrapping up because you have such a busy schedule, but I just want to say this. When I worked at AGT for those 6 dates on the road, what I loved was you were the only judge that would have dinner with the crew, the only guy that would go out and have drinks with the crew at the end of the night. It really felt like you just loved being part of hanging with everybody. Everybody else was back in their dressing room. Everybody was just kind of doing their own thing, and you were really
they may probably needed to rest or lie down. I can't lie down, and I like being a lot around people.
Yeah,
you're not the guy. Just like you were talking about the Beverly Center. You're not the typical guy you think, oh, I'm gonna see Howie Mandel from the bus. He's gonna be walking into the coffee shop to get his thing. You and Gary and I have seen you like walking across Santa Monica, and you wave and
Well, I'm at Denny's 4 times a week.
I saw you.
Denny's.
I saw you the night before I did Letterman. You were on Letterman. And I was doing the show as a comic the next day, and I saw you at the deli, and I was having dinner with my mom, and you came over and talked to us for a couple minutes. I mean, you're one of the nicest guys.
Yeah,
thank you. I don't know that I'm the nicest guy, but I'm a normal guy.
That's what
I'm normal with my abnormalness.
We like that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, we're excited. I know that you said season 12 has a comic coming up that we should be looking out for.
I love this guy.
Yeah. And that's going to premiere in the summer. It's a great summer show.
It starts May 30th.
I know we got to wrap up, but is there? People always say, you always want to, like us, we always want the next level and that kind of thing. People always say, if you could have a career, whose would it be? You have one of those careers where you've seemed to have done so much. Like you listed at the beginning, and then all the stuff, like you said, that you attempt. Is there something you haven't done yet that you still want to? That
I'm sure there's a ton of things that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
And I want to be asked to do them.
Yeah.
And that's everything.
Sure.
Everything.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and that's how and I hope that somebody thinks of me and doesn't overthink it. Oh, we can't afford him, or he's too busy, or he doesn't, that the people will still call and ask me to do things.
Yeah.
I think the one question we got over and over again on Facebook was, is Bobby's World coming back?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
So I've made some deals with some partners, and hopefully we can get that.
Fingers crossed.
I love it. I'd like to do that. I'd like to do more of that kind of stuff. I'd like to do more television. I'd like to do film. I'm in a little Netflix thing right now. I just directed on Hulu. You can get that Committed. It's a documentary I did over 12 years with a fellow comic. I followed him, Vic Cohen. It's Committed, so I love directing. I'm doing another documentary. I did on Netflix, Small Shots. I got to play a little character. They called me to act. I said, okay, I'll do it.
Your other show's on Spike too, Karaoke Showdown.
Yep, is with Craig Robinson. I produce that. So I produce a lot of things that I'm not in. I like producing. That's what this office that you're sitting in right now is. That's what.
And obviously, being on this show, I mean, I'm sure that's going to up your game. And I'm sure that a lot of the calls are going to start flying through now as a result.
How long has this been on?
A couple years. Yeah. Or you mean just this right now?
Just this particular broadcast.
50 minutes. Yeah. Wow. And we only usually go half an hour.
Really?
So this is a testament to you, Howie.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Or you haven't been able to think of a good ending. You always want to leave, you want to leave them on a big laugh or a big something really exciting to go. Well, that's it. Nothing.
So you know how you said you like those awkward moments? That's the ending to our show.
That's it, right there.
Really? Not knowing what to do anymore.
So let's just sit quietly for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and then we'll cut it.
You know what? Let the audience turn it off instead of you. Usually the podcaster says that's it and they're out. But you know what? At this point, we've done enough, right?
Right.
So let's leave it to the listener at any time from now.
Just
turn it off.
Yeah.
Just go to something else.
Yeah.
We're done.
We're done.
Nothing more is going to happen here.
We're done.
And that's
the recording will keep going, but we're finished. Yes.
But we want them to be finished. It's kind of you hang up first. They're
It's like the end of the Ferris Bueller movie where the guy came out and said the movie's over with. That was the first time somebody's ever done that. Yeah.
Right. So this is the podcast.
Let's just.
Do you think half of the people that had been listening 10 minutes ago are gone now?
I would like to think that they're still here.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I think people
you think they're gone. You think they're gone?
Right, because we haven't spewed anything really interesting for the last minute and a half. So I think
that's true.
So I think at least 25% of the people that were listening 10 minutes ago are gone. And now what I'm going to do is...
To be fair, you're a fantastic guest. I've heard his podcast before. It's usually a lot of uninteresting things. So the listener.
But there are people that are into uninteresting things.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Things. That's his listeners. That's his.
Right. Yeah. I've gone into people's homes and seen their collections and acted like I was interested. So people, just because something's not interesting, doesn't mean people won't watch it, listen to it, and be part of it.
Yeah.
But this ending,
this
is less than not interesting.
Oh, I see. Yeah, below.
This is just
below uninteresting.
I do think we're losing people right now.
I do too. I think this is just a waste of time. I think
you're going to see a spike.
You do?
Really?
Yeah, I think the opposite's going to happen.
Really?
I think there's going to be people, they have those meters.
See, we're discussing who's listening rather than discussing anything that's happening here.
Right.
Which was crazy. We had 80 other questions that we never even got to.
But the point is that I don't think they're interested in themselves. And we're talking, can we take a caller?
No, there's no...
Call your mom.
We have the capability.
No. I don't mean in this podcast. Can I go into another room and take a phone call?
Yes.
Yeah, just do that.
I'm gonna go do that. It has nothing to do with your podcast.
You sure?
Yeah, but don't say goodbye. Don't say there should
Let's just
nothing.
sit here.
No, we're just gonna. Do you mind if we're gonna leave too, but the equipment's gonna stay here.
Yeah,
do that.
We'll come back and pick it up later
We'll
this
just
week.
keep recording.
Yeah.
So I'm going in the other room. I'm going to take phone calls.
Okay.
Not from any listener, not from any fans or anything.
Just nothing.
No, I have a contractor that needs to call me about something I'm doing in one of the rooms of my house.
Oh, okay.
And,
We thought about a school.
No, and well, my daughter's probably going to call me in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Because she wants to have lunch. And then
Denny's?
I go to Denny's 4 times a week.
You do. You love the Denny's.
I do love Denny's.
Yeah.
I love the Grand Slam. And I can order the 55 and over menu too. And I like the pictures. And it looks like the pictures. And the lady here at the Denny's, she likes me. She's a fan of mine. And sometimes she lets me sit in the quinceañera room.
Really? Mm-hmm. Boy, you get the service.
I do.
By the way, thank you so much for doing this.
You're trying to say goodbye. Now it's just awkward.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not leaving. This is when the host says goodbye and then the guest won't leave.
Right.
See, people always think it'd be fun to hang with me, but I'm the guy at the party where you're upstairs with your wife going, well, tell him to go. I want to go downstairs and vacuum. Well, why don't you just go vacuum? Maybe he'll get a hint.
Yeah.
I'm out. See you later.